Aww, it's a little baby. Alfa Romeo has a long history of offering small cars, and the latest has finally arrived in Australia, presenting the Junior. While it was originally meant to be called the Milano, the Italian government made Alfa Romeo change the name last minute. The reason why is the Italian government says that a car or a product that isn't made in Italy can't have an Italian name. That's right, this car is actually made in Poland alongside the related Jeep Avenger. We've driven this car a few times now on overseas soil, but it's finally time to see what it's like in Australia. Let's find out to see whether it's worth the Alfa Romeo badge.
There are two versions of the Junior available in Australia, the Ibrida and Elettrica. These mean hybrid and electric in Italian, respectively. Pricing starts from $45,900 before on roads for the Ibrida and extends to $57,900 before on roads for the Elettrica. Depending on what you class as a rival for this car, the Ibrida is cheaper than a Lexus LBX but more expensive than an entry-level Peugeot 2008. It's also the cheapest Alfa Romeo in Australia since the Giulietta was axed in 2020. For the Elettrica, it's a different story. There are plenty of larger EVs with more power and range out there for less money. Both versions of the Junior are fully loaded in Australia. This means standard 18-inch alloy wheels, matrix LED headlights, a hands-free power tailgate, dual 10.25-inch screens, as well as black cloth and synthetic leather upholstery. For the full specification details, read my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au.
On the outside, the Junior is a little bit of a cutie. While it is an SUV, it's not far off from being a hatchback like the old Mito and Giulietta. At the front, it's rather chaotic and wild, with a highlight being this special triangular grille with Alfa Romeo script written out. Other highlights include this side-mounted license plate holder, a two-tone roof, petal designs on the alloy wheels, and then at the back there are LED tail lights. One thing to note is the Ibrida model, which is what we have here, has twin exhaust pipes, and that's the only way to tell it apart from the Elettrica. Inside the Junior continues the cool looks. I particularly like these seats, which have a red section that runs down the middle. It breaks up the black finishes quite nicely, although as you can see, there are a fair few black finishes around the cabin. Another highlight that I like are these huge circular air vents here on the outside. They're shaped like a clover leaf. Another thing you might note here in the cabin is this car shares a lot of its physical switchgear with the Jeep Avenger, which is built on the same platform. The buttons are the same, include the steering wheel buttons, the gear selector and the start button, as well as the climate control switchgear. I'm not mad at this because I think the Junior looks different enough as it is. Now for this steering wheel, it's a leather wrapped unit and I love it a lot. It's incredibly thin, which makes it really nice to hold when you're driving for long periods of time. There are also paddle shifters here in the Ibrida model. For the digital instrument cluster, it's classic Alfa Romeo with the dual analog dials on the outside. I say analog, but it's actually a digital screen. You can change what's in the center using these buttons here. There are multiple different pages you can cycle through, and all of it looks pretty cool. Next, moving across to the touchscreen multimedia system, it's obviously tilted towards the driver, so it feels like you're in a cockpit. Like a range of the other cars that this car is based on, it has just a different version of the Uconnect infotainment system, which is very easy to navigate. It also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Other things to note here in the cabin is I love the amount of physical switchgear, especially here for the climate controls. It's big thumbs up. In terms of storage, there is a wireless charger just here, some cup holders, some situation down here, a sliding armrest with some storage underneath, as well as a glove box, which is unfortunately very small because you can tell this car was designed as a left-hand drive market first. Here in the second row, it's clear where the name Junior lives up the most. It's not the biggest space ever, but this is a small car, and a tiny car I should say, at the end of the day. I'm 182 centimeters tall and I'm behind my own driving position. This is quite close. In terms of legroom, it's not good, but it's a tiny car at the end of the day. I have to splay my legs on either side of the seat in front just to sit comfortably. I do have a fair bit of toe wiggle room, so my feet can actually slide underneath the seat ahead. And surprisingly, I have a fair bit of headroom, which is rare in a car like this. For the seat itself, you do sit quite comfortably up. It's a little leaned back, which is nice, but I probably wouldn't want to be back here for a trip that's too long. Short trips will be fine. Another thing to note is you would probably only want to put 2 adults in here because this center seat isn't very big at all, and there's also a big hump here in the center. Other things to note back here in terms of amenities is there isn't really much at all. You only really get a single USB charger point. There is no fold down armrest, there are no air vents. It's just yourself back here, you have to make your own entertainment. At the back there's a hands-free tailgate that opens and closes just like that. As you can see, the boot space is okay, but you need to remember that this is a tiny car. For the Ibrida, there's 415 litres of boot space and 400 litres in the Electrica. In terms of the actual boot space itself, it's fine, and as I mentioned, there's also no load lip, which is pretty cool to see. In the Ibrida here, there's a 2-tier floor that you can configure yourself. Unfortunately, there's no spare wheel across the range, but in this Ibrida, you can option it as an accessory. For other amenities here in the boot, there is a 12-volt socket, a light, and some various hooks. It's all pretty standard back here. As I've already mentioned, the Junior is available with 2 powertrains. One is mild hybrid and the other is electric. As you can see by the engine, this one is mild hybrid.
The former has a 1.2 litre turbo 3-cylinder engine with 48-volt mild hybrid assistance for total system outputs of 107 kilowatts and 230 newton meters. Power is sent through a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic to the front wheels only. The 0 to 100 km/h sprint takes a claimed 8.9 seconds. With the latter, it has a single front-mounted electric motor that produces 115 kilowatts and 260 newton meters. This is fed by a 54 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. Despite having more power and torque, the Electrica is 0.1 seconds slower to 100 km/h. It takes 9 seconds. The Junior Ibrida has a claimed fuel consumption figure of 4.1 litres per 100 kilometres, which is wild for a mild hybrid vehicle. It has a 44 litre fuel tank and requires a minimum of 95 RON premium unleaded petrol. During our testing on the launch, which featured mixed and spirited driving, we saw an average of 5.4 litres per 100 kilometres. During one section with fewer twists and turns, we saw an average of 4 litres per 100 kilometres, which is incredible. Using our as-tested fuel consumption, you have a theoretical range of up to 815 kilometres. With the Electrica, on the other hand, it has a claimed range of 407 kilometres, according to WLTP testing. DC charging is offered at rates up to 100 kilowatts, which allows the battery pack to charge from 10 to 80% in 30 minutes. AC charging, on the other hand, is offered at rates up to 11 kilowatts. Charging from 0 to 100% using this takes 5 hours and 45 minutes.
Alrighty, we're behind the wheel of the Alfa Romeo Junior, and I just want to get this out of the way first. Unfortunately, we've only been able to drive the Ibrida, which is the mild hybrid trim here on this launch. We'll have to wait and see what the Electrica is like at a later date. First up, let's talk about this petrol engine. And, spoiler alert, it's a little bit of a sweetie. It's a turbocharged 3-cylinder petrol engine, which has a really cute note when you push it that little bit harder. It's also mated with an electric motor that's part of the 6-speed dual-clutch transmission. The electric motor does only produce a little bit of power, but it makes its presence known in a big way. You can do a lot of driving in this car in pure electric EV driving only, which is really cool for a mild hybrid. There are times, like right now, I'm going 80 kilometers an hour and I'm purely just driving on electric power alone. It's really, really cool. Something to note is this car still does have the dual clutch tendencies, with some hesitancy at low speed, but thankfully the electric motor does smooth some of it over, but you can still feel it. Once you're going at higher speeds and the car is chopping and changing from petrol to electric or using a combination of both, it is a lot more seamless and you don't feel it near as much. With the combination of the petrol motor and also the electric motor, this car produces around 100 kilowatts of power or so. It's not a whole heap, so don't be expecting breakneck speed or pace out of this car. It just makes some cool 3-cylinder noises, and honestly, you do get up to speed in a decent pace. It's not what I would call slow. As standard, there is regen braking, which feeds the energy from slowing down back into the high voltage 48 volt battery pack. It's taken me a little bit to get used to how it operates because there's only one mode for it, and it is pretty strong. So when you let your foot off the accelerator fully, you slow down a fair bit. It's almost like a one pedal driving kind of vibe, but you still need to use the brake pedal to come to a complete stop. With coming to a complete stop when you transition from regen to the friction brakes, it can be a little bit grabby if you're not prepared for it, but once you get used to driving this car, you'll be fine. The steering is one of this car's highlights. It's incredibly direct and nimble, and it makes driving this car really fun. It also highlights just how small this car is. It almost has a little bit of mini-like nature to it, where it just feels a bit like a go-kart. Another element of this car that took me by surprise in a big way is the suspension. This car, for being so small, is incredibly comfortable. You can take on some pretty big bumps and it doesn't phase the cabin ambience whatsoever, because some of these big bumps here at high speeds like I'm driving on right now would unsettle a lot of cars, but I'm very comfy in here. I think one of the biggest reasons for this car has 18-inch alloy wheels as standard. You can get 20-inch units in certain variants overseas, and I imagine the ride on that would be a lot harsher. Overall, as a dynamic package, this is a really nimble and fun car to drive around. It just goes to show that you don't need a huge engine under the bonnet to have a lot of fun in a small car. I've had a lot of fun in this car, and you can tell this car is capable of having more power, but the fact it doesn't have much, I think makes this car more enjoyable, and it makes me smile. In terms of NVH, which stands for noise, vibration, and harshness, I'm surprised by how quiet this car is. When you're accelerating, you can hear the 3-cylinder, but then once you reach your set speed, it fades into the background, and I'm driving into a headwind right now, and I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's really quiet here in the cabin. No rattles whatsoever. This is really cool. Lastly, I want to give the safety systems a massive thumbs up. They are good, but they're also incredibly in the background. They're not present and overbearing like some cars can be. The only thing that chimes is the speed limit assist, and that is handy because it lets you know if you're speeding. But if you do want to switch it off, there's a button here on the center that allows you to turn all of these systems off if they annoy you.
The Alfa Romeo Junior hasn't been crash tested by ANCAP or Euro NCAP just yet. As standard, there are 6 airbags, AEB, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, front, side and rear parking sensors, as well as a reversing camera. One of the few features missing from the lineup is rear cross traffic alert and a proper surround view camera. Junior owners also get 12 months of complimentary access to connected services, which allows for things like SOS emergency calling and remote functionality through a smartphone app. For the full safety details, read my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au. On the ownership front, the Junior is covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. There's also 5 years of complimentary roadside assistance. If you service at an Alfa Romeo dealer, you'll also get an additional 12 months of coverage for the lifetime of the car. Logbook servicing is required every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres in the Ibrida. However, it's every 12 months or 25,000 kilometres in the Electrica. The first 5 services are capped and total just over $3,100 for the Ibrida and $1,160 for the Electrica. This averages out to around $620 and $230 respectively per service. It's clear the Junior Ibrida isn't the most affordable to maintain, especially for such a small vehicle.
This tiny Alfa certainly packs a punch. It's got eye-catching looks, keen driving dynamics, and it just oozes fun. I don't think I've smiled this much behind the wheel of a car for a fair while. Ultimately, however, I think it comes down to, will anyone actually care about the Junior? It's entering an incredibly competitive segment with plenty of stiff competition. For now, we'll just have to wait and see how much impact the Junior has in Australia. Thank you for watching. For more, and to read my detailed written review, head to carsguide.com.au.